So in this video, I'm going to outline the three major players in a residency program, their perspectives, and how this might change with competency-based medical education. So here we have the resident. This is Jesse Statch, one of our current R1s, about to start R2, the clinical preceptor, and then the program director. So the resident. The vast majority of our residents are really here to become good doctors, and they really just want to know what are the areas I need to work on to be the best doctor that I can be. However, there are other competing agendas, such as they also want to match their preferred subspecialty and pass all of their required examinations. But I still believe what primarily drives our residents is the desire to be the best doctor they can be. For the clinical preceptor, having trained in our core internal medicine program here, I believe that what drives most of our preceptors is they really want to help the residents be the best that they can be, to help them to grow as a doctor and become a future colleague. However, at least some, if not many of you, have thought at some point, well, I've been burned on my evaluations when I've given that honest negative feedback. And that can be difficult. But also, as a clinical preceptor, we sort of have multiple roles. And something that a lot of preceptors may wonder is, well, am I a coach or an assessor? But you want me to be both? You want me to be there in the front line coaching the resident, here's how you become better, but also be the one to say, pass, fail in this rotation? That can be very difficult. Then we have the program director. And the program director, as well as the associate program directors all together, really want to run a program that meets the needs of the residents as a group. Not just to meet accreditation standards, but to really deliver what is necessary to train our residents as best as possible. But the program directors also want to make sure, as stewards of society, that each resident is ready to pass on to the next stage of training. And another thing that drives the program directors is desire to mentor each resident along the way to give them the individual attention that they need. It's a bit of a large task in a program with 100 residents. So as you can see, each of the three major players have multiple things that drive them at any given time, and this can cause a problem. This leads us to the changes associated with competency-based medical education. Now I'm going to give you an overview of two new roles, the academic advisors and the Competence Committee. As we said, we have the program director who wants to run a program that meets the needs of the residents, wants to make sure each resident is ready to pass on to the next stage, and mentor each resident along the way. Now the Royal College has noticed that this is a problem for the program director to try and do all these roles. And so part of the change with competency-based medical education is to remove at least one of these roles from the program director. In the new model, there'll be what's called a Competence Committee, and I'll come back to that in a second. But in our program, we're also introducing academic advisors. Now with this allows a program director to really focus on the role of overseeing a program that meets the needs of the residents. It's not to say that they won't still hold a mentoring role and think about the residents transitioning between stages. But Cheryl Goldstein has done a lot of work setting up the academic advisors group. And essentially, these are coaches. Their role is to help guide the residents through the program. Now, we have 100 residents, and we're aiming for a ratio of about 5-to-1 in terms of each academic advisor would have about 5 residents. That'll be dependent on how many advisors we can get trained up. Currently, our outgoing R1s all have academic advisors, and our incoming R1s will have academic advisors. And the idea is that these people can serve as longitudinal coaches, meeting with the residents approximately every 3 months, and on an ad hoc basis if there's issues that arise, to help guide them through the program. They will help the resident look over all their entrustable professional activities and help map out where they're going to go next, or if there's been themes in terms of comments, in terms of areas of improvement, they can help coach them in this way. Then we have the Competence Committee. This one is mandated by the Royal College in a competency-based environment. The academic advisors are not, and that makes sense because if you have a small residency program with just a few residents, the program director can serve in that role. But with 100 residents, even between a program director and 3 associate program directors, that's a lot of residents to mentor. Hence, our program has chosen academic advisors as a route. Now, the Comps Committee is essentially like a jury. They will look at the data in the portfolio and decide if the resident has enough evidence to demonstrate competence for any given entrustable professional activity. And one thing that they might say is, based on their portfolio, there is not yet enough evidence to show competence with all of these EPAs. Maybe at the foundation stage, which is kind of the junior resident year, there's 7 EPAs and maybe they've done 6 but not the 7th. And the Comps Committee, working as a group of about 6 to 8 people, will make that decision. So that gives you an overview of the changes to our program in terms of the introduction of academic advisors, which we have already had for a year, and the Competence Committee that will begin meeting in the new academic year.